All right, and now we move into topic one. What do the Patriots do with the third pick in the 2024 NFL Draft? It seems like an easy option when you look at it. There's 3 tier 1 quarterbacks, but the more you dig into this draft, the more you dig into what people are saying about each one of these quarterbacks, more specifically Jayden Daniels or Drake Maye, which it seems likely will be available. One or the other will be available at the time that the Patriots are called to select their draft pick. It's interesting if that is the route they go, because simply put, let's talk about this right now. Let's go into option 1 for the Patriots and their number 3 draft pick. Caleb Williams goes 1. Then it's all about who the Commanders pick at 2 for the Patriots. That's what all eyes are on the Commanders. And when I look at the Commanders and I look at the coaching staff, specifically offensive side of the ball, Cliff Kingsbury, I ask myself, would you rather have Jayden Daniels or Drake Maye? And I keep coming back to the same answer, and it's not the answer I'm seeing everywhere online when you're looking at mock drafts from either CBS, Mel Kiper, or any of the billion people that do mock drafts. You're starting to see a lot of Drake Maye. You're starting to see a little bit more Jayden Daniels. I expect that trend to continue because Jayden Daniels has had the better, more recent success. I think will measure well in his college pro day. I think that'll be a big day for Jayden Daniels to up his stock there. I think that when we're drafting, when it's draft day, Jayden Daniels will be the number 2 quarterback on a lot of teams' boards, and Drake Maye may be 3, 4, some teams 5. Now, why do I say this? There's been a lot more talk about processing power this year because last year the quarterback duos were Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud scored the lowest score on a Wonderlic test ever, and that's supposed to tell somebody how you process things. Yet, obviously, that just needs to be changed. Yet, because Stroud was spectacular all year long, can so clearly read a defense and can handle the different things that an NFL team can throw at him. And Bryce Young similarly has struggled despite having a great Wonderlic score, and that being maybe to some of the teams the big differentiator of the two last year. This year, it feels like a lot of teams are maybe even prioritizing that processing power. I think the advantage in that processing power does go to Jayden Daniels over Drake Maye, which means Drake Maye may be available to the Patriots at 3. And then it's all about what are the Patriots looking for right now? Do you draft Drake Maye if he falls to 3 and you're not sure he's the 3rd best quarterback? Because the alternative here is that Marvin Harrison Jr., who is likely the best player in the draft, barring position there, is still available and on the board. It's hard for me to believe that the Patriots are going to swallow this pick and say, I'll take Drake Maye if they're not sure, when there's just so much talent left in this draft, especially in the first 5, 6 positions of this draft. What are your thoughts, Jake, on the Jayden Daniels versus Drake Maye comparison? Do you feel like one has a bigger chance to be left at 3 than the other?
Yeah, I'm thinking that Jayden Daniels is gonna go at 2. The Patriots, if they don't end up giving away this pick, I think they're going to take Drake Maye. We've talked about him on the show before. Maye's a good deep ball thrower. He's a pretty good dual threat ability. He could potentially, run the ball. He's got a lot of potential, and I think if the Patriots do, if they do go with Maye, they won't be too disappointed with him.
I think that's a great point there, because I tried to put myself in the fan shoes of a fan, and I struggled because, one, Patriots fans are just so weird and mean and awful, but also just because you've had Tom Brady, and it's a slippery slope running for these top pick quarterbacks that are 2nd and 3rd, because simply put, 1 or 2 of these quarterbacks are going to work out. We have not gotten to a draft where 5 or 6 quarterbacks have gone and they're all capable starters in the NFL. That's just not the percentages that the NFL is working with at the moment. Are you going to take the 3rd choice, the last of the tier 1 quarterbacks, and bank on Drake Maye being the number 1 talent? It's hard for me as a fan to believe that, almost. And the Patriots are not used to bad quarterback play. They've gotten a little bit more used to it in recent years, but I do believe Tom Brady is still the standard there, and it's tough to bring Drake Maye in to a Tom Brady standard team. Go ahead, Jake.
Well, I think Tom Brady's always going to be the standard until somebody, if somebody ends up surpassing that. I think as fans, you gotta, I guess, lower your expectations a little bit. There's a good chance you're not going to get the next Tom Brady right away, right? So I think you, like I said, you gotta lower your expectations and just hope for the best, but don't expect the next Tom Brady.
And you're certainly right. And it's not as if Drake Maye doesn't look the part for a Patriots quarterback as well. He's big, strong, will be able to throw into the heavy winds that the Patriots and New England have to deal with, and a lot of their opponents as well who play in that tough weather. That does feel like the kind of game that Drake Maye is cut out for. The question is, at 3, is that a great pick? And I think we're kind of stuck on, yes, you take that if you're the Patriots, because it might be, your best chance at a elite, young, cheap quarterback that you're going to have. Yet at the same time, I think it's a little bit more my opinion that you're just risking too much with Drake at 3, especially if he's not the first 2 on your specific board if you're a New England Patriot right now. That option 2, though, you alluded to it in just a little bit, but at that number 3 position, say you're not interested totally in Drake Maye. Say right now you're the general manager of the New England Patriots. You're 60% sure Drake Maye is a great pick at number 3. Now, up in the leading moments of the draft, you're starting to get some calls because some teams are nervous. Let's say Kirk Cousins decides to go back to the Vikings. Now you have the Falcons, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Buccaneers possibly, if they cannot lock up something with Baker Mayfield, calling to see, hey, what is that third pick worth to you? And I guess my question, Jake, is exactly that. What is that third pick worth to the New England Patriots?
I think it's got to be worth a lot. The third pick, it's a very, very valuable pick. I feel like unless they are dead set on Jayden Daniels, if he's available, or Drake Maye, they got to at least entertain offers from other teams.
Yeah, and if we're discussing, first goes Caleb Williams, second goes Jayden Daniels, and a lot of teams are high on Drake Maye, including, the Broncos, the Raiders, Buccaneers, Falcons, possibly Vikings if they're not the ones who get Kirk Cousins. Then you start looking at, hey, is the number 3 the new number 1 pick in this draft? And that's a valuable spot for the Patriots. That's where you can trade back. You can trade and get a great player. And in the case of the Broncos, I think that the Broncos could sit there and be talked into Patrick Surtain and a first, because they're a few years out from putting together a team that is capable of challenging a team like the Kansas City Chiefs in their own division, or the rest of the AFC, which is right now stacked and loaded with all the best quarterbacks that the league has to offer. So you could package a first and Surtain. I think the same thing for the Raiders. The Buccaneers have all kinds of talent all over the field. Now, can you get a deal together that entices the Patriots? That's the biggest question. Do you offer 2 firsts? Is there a team that would offer 2 firsts if you're the Falcons and you say, we were in the running for Kirk Cousins. We didn't get Kirk Cousins, but we do feel like we're about a player or 2 away, and one of those players have to be a quarterback. And that's just what holds out to me. Are there any home run quarterbacks in free agency? Other than Kirk Cousins, I don't think that you could ask a GM who would mention another name in that A to B plus range quarterback that's out there on the market to be picked back up. And simply put, that might just make this number 3 pick all the more valuable to the Patriots. What are your thoughts on that, Jake?
No, I'd agree. I mean, like kind of like I said before, they have to be wowed in order to give up this number 3 pick, and I don't know if there's anything out there, any quarterback out there that is going to wow them. So I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be an interesting situation to see what happens close to when we get closer to the draft.
It certainly is, and when we're looking at these 3, 4 different 5 possible teams, it's all about, kind of getting the pressure cooker a little bit up. Hey, I don't want to enter a new year with the same quarterback that I had last year. I don't want to enter this year with a worse quarterback that I had last year. It's all about a few of these different teams and their evaluation on Drake Maye and how he will fit in their system. Because, you say maybe Drake Maye fits in New England, but does he look a little bit better in a Sean Payton system? Does Sean Payton value him more in his system than the Patriots would? Is it worth Patrick Surtain and possibly a first or a second? Do the Raiders see that as troublesome and go, hey, I'll give you 2 firsts right now. I'll give you first next year and the first this year. And you know what? You take it. I'll take Drake Maye, and we'll see if we can start the new era of Raider football. Falcons, like I said, the Falcons are really a team that are in that Kirk Cousins race because they feel like they can take an advantage and really put themselves in a new stratosphere next year. And that third option that we're going to get into today is one of my favorites because it looks now like the Buccaneers are beginning to prop themselves up to offer Baker Mayfield quite the deal, likely around Daniel Jones. I'm hearing $35 to $40 million a year. That is no discount, which there were reports that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were hoping to get Baker Mayfield at a little bit of a discount. That's just not how the modern NFL works. If you give a quarterback a starting position and they play well, don't expect a discount then, because you just gave that quarterback a platform to show his skills off. Now there's other teams, and testing free agency as a quarterback has to be a very exciting venture, especially if you're Kirk Cousins, who's getting fully guaranteed deals, and his last few has now posted himself up as, one of the most richest in quarterback contracts and NFL contracts than any other quarterback, despite not even being the best quarterback of his era. We're going to talk about what if the Patriots were able to offer Baker Mayfield some money, get him into a Patriots uniform, and then you can spend that third pick on Marvin Harrison Jr., the only real blue chip supreme pick here that is almost guaranteed to work. That way you have a quarterback that you feel comfortable in, a quarterback that has proven himself to play at the NFL level, and Marvin Harrison Jr., which will be the best wide receiver that you could get out of this draft, let alone just, I think, possibly in a few years, going to be the best wide receiver or one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. It just feels like a possible option for the Patriots to sneak ahead a little bit and to put themselves years ahead of their recovery plan from the Belichick era. This was talking about a rebuild that was going to take a few years. Next thing you know, you got Baker Mayfield, you got Marvin Harrison Jr., and nobody's talking about a rebuild anymore. They want to see what you can do in a division where we don't know what the Bills are going to look like. We don't know what the Jets are going to look like, and we certainly don't know what the Dolphins are going to look like. That's just it's an interesting division right now, and the Patriots have to feel like, while maybe they're not in a catbird seat to take the division, that they have some serious cards in their sleeves to play here.
Yeah, I think if they're able to go with this option, I think a lot of things are going to have to go right for them for this to be available. But if things do go right for them, then and they are able to get Baker Mayfield and then draft Marvin Harrison Jr., I think that's by far their best option.
Yeah, it's the best option. It's probably the best case scenario for the Patriots. And it would likely make every Cardinals fan hate them, because the Cardinals at 4, they're probably crossing their fingers a little bit, but the Cardinals at 4 are probably feeling like Marvin Harrison Jr., the best player in this draft, might just fall to them if they're patient enough. The Patriots might be one of the only teams to shake that future up for them, and we're just going to have to sit tight and wait to see how that all plays out. But first, we're going on a quick break. On the other side, the Blake and Jake Show, we'll be going over UFC 299 O'Malley versus Vera 2. So excited for that. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.